All right, what is up, movers? Got the most recent classical game that I played. I had the black pieces. I was against an opponent whose rating was 1259, but just like my rating, how it's not updated, his wasn't updated either, and he's actually a bit closer to 1400, so he's been putting in some work the past few months. But let me just dive into the game. I think that I learned a little bit from it, and yeah, hope you guys enjoy. So my opponent started with d4. Obviously, I still play b6 to this. I used to play b5 because I'm capable of playing it after this or this. Then all of a sudden this bishop is either threatening to win the rook or the pawn, but basically it just becomes a liability later in the game because I also have to play a6. Kind of similar to how on white, how b3 would probably be better than playing b4. Excuse me. But at least with white, for one, you have the first move, which changes a lot of tempo in a lot of different positions. And yeah, it's also not as easy to attack this because it's very telegraphed. But anyway, I play b6 because it's what I play now. I find that a lot of people still play e4 anyway, and then knight c3. But my opponent played knight to f3, which is my first warning sign that this game is not going to go how I want it to. Anyway, we get bishop over to b7, and then my worries are confirmed, and we have a London abuser. So I was kind of just annoyed off the bat, and I always kick myself because I never actually study how to play against this opening, and I'm still not going to do so for tomorrow's tournament. But anyway, I just played like normal. I played e6. We get e3, the most solid possible setup out of my opponent. I played knight to f6. Their ideas where I can try winning this bishop because it really has nowhere that I can go. I will win this bishop if I want to, but I don't like the pawn structure that comes of it. I also don't feel the need to waste a couple of tempo grabbing this because I don't think this is too bad a setup either. He just puts all his pawns on dark squares, and his bishop is a monster. So I really don't think it matters too much if I win that or not. We get knight to d2, and I start with my master plan. I go knight c6. He plays h3, which I think is a weird move, but it's fine. I play knight to e7. I'm spending another tempo on a knight move. We get bishop d3, and there's my last tempo. I play knight to g6. So it's kind of similar, actually, to if I would have just done this. Given this way he escapes, but the concept is similar. I spend a couple of tempo moving my knight, where I could be developing other pieces instead. So the reason why I chose to do this was twofold. One is that in the London, typically they castle this way. Not always, but it's what I found, that more often than not people will castle that way. Also, I kind of just wanted to throw them out of prep, because I feel like London players, nothing against them, as much as I like trashing on the opening, but I think that a lot of their strength comes from the fact that their position is something they're so used to, and that the same tactics will work game in, game out, which is not a bad thing. I always say that you should play the same opening, for that reason. However, with the London, I just feel like that takes that to the max, and you kind of get these super safe setups where there's nothing wrong with the position, but there's also nothing, I wouldn't say there's necessarily anything super good with it. So like, if you're trying to beat an opponent lower rated than you, I would not play the London because you're not going to get a great advantage out of the bat. Whereas if you're playing someone higher than you, then I would say absolutely play the London because then you can, pretty much stand on equal footing with them for most of the game. But anyway, that's the end of my spiel. I played c5, and I knew that he would play c3 because all his moves are pretty much already known by every human being. I don't sound salty at all, by the way. But we get c3, and I don't plan on taking because his structure still stays fine, and I don't yet have enough information as to, if this pawn or this pawn are going to go missing, like what clears up for me, so there's really no reason for me to do this. He'll also probably take this way, just because this knight is the only one that's trying to get into the game. Nothing is trying to grab this square right now. The bishop doesn't really do much. He just castles, and I'm not really going to trade my bishop for no reason. So anyway, game continues. I play rook c8. Again, I'm just trying to play some weird moves that aren't normally probably played. I don't think that b6 is a common opening as is, But regardless, I don't want my opponent to have any sort of sense of familiarity with the position. So I play rook c8, just try to activate pieces. And here I play bishop c6, and I wasn't happy, I wasn't thrilled to make this move when I played it, and it seems like the computer agrees. The reason why I didn't want to do it is because it spends a tempo, but it's kind of like a bad tempo. So I think the knight tempo was fine, because for one, I forced a couple moves out of my opponent, so I didn't actually lose as much tempo as, one would think. It wasn't me spending 3 moves on a knight, it was me spending 3 moves on a knight, whereas he spent 2 moves on developing his bishop. So in that sense, I think that was fine. It also brought it to the side of the field that the game is correctly going to be played on. But the reason I don't like this bishop move is because this bishop's main job is just to guard this diagonal and to eventually become a threat against this knight and this square on g2. So its objective doesn't really change whichever square it's on, but what I wanted protection against these moves for when I try playing either d5 or if I wanted to play b5 and then c4. I just kind of wanted some more protection in doing so, but doing so costed me a tempo. My rook that I just moved here to guard this is now not doing anything because it's getting blocked, so I kind of wasn't thrilled with the move. But anyway, we get knight over to c4, and I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to check me where he either wins material or I take, and then I'm not able to castle. However, those of you who know me know that I don't care to castle, and surprise, surprise, I did not in this game. And I can't really play d5 as of just yet because I'm going to have a bad bishop. So what I chose to do is first off, trade off the bishop that would have been bad. Queen will take because he doesn't want to damage structure. This is a key London tactic. Just make sure you have good position, and then it'll reward you in the late game once things are traded off. So I play d5 now. My opponent plays knight to e5. I just further close in this bishop, and my plan is to eventually get these pawns and break this way, and then I can start winning these pawns. Or I could just sack at the right moment and then promote. So that's the idea. Bishop goes over to c2, and I play bishop to d6. And unfortunately, I did miss a move here. So I completely forgot that his bishop is now going to be able to check me still. And I thought that for some reason, I don't know why, but I thought that b5 would have just stopped him, whereas b5 just gets taken. So that actually doesn't do anything at all. So he plays it, and I'm forced to move my king in one way or another. So I chose e7, and that's because this tactic doesn't work for him. I'll just run it over for you guys quickly. So the idea is that he's threatening my queen, so I have to sack my rook, which is exactly what happens actually. I sack the rook. However, if he grabs my bishop here, I take back, bishop takes, and I got 2 pieces for my rook. If he does it in the other direction, say he takes here first, I take here with check. Once he recaptures, I'm going to check him and then grab the bishop again. So either way, I'm grabbing 2 minor pieces for a rook, which is huge, especially with a closed pawn structure like this. Rooks really aren't all that useful. I'd rather have the minor pieces, especially his, which are quite infringing upon my territory, and this one's just annoying long term. So he did not, well, he pretty much saw the tactic, calculated it, and played knight takes g6, and I took so that I could have an open file for my rook. He took on d6, I recaptured with queen, and now, as you can see, it doesn't really matter a whole lot that I haven't castled, because my rooks are connected, I have an open file. I would say that I'm more so capable of making an attack on the queen side here than he is. At least easier, I think would be the correct word. And then I'll also have a nice outpost here for my knight on e4. So I'm pretty happy with this position. If I were to turn on the eval real quick, they have it at equal, they have it at negative 0.04, which I think is a win against the London. Because generally, I don't have a good score against this. I mainly just play dubious stuff and then, try to win tactically. But that doesn't really work in classical because they have enough time to figure out your tactics. In 10-minute games, what I do kind of works. because my opponents don't have time to calculate everything, and I can normally beat them there. But that just doesn't work when it comes to in our games. So anyway, rook comes over to e1, normal move, go against my king, be able to start pushing the pawn. I played b5. Reason for it is, of course, that if he takes, I'm just going to threaten it, and then he can play something like, what's it called, a4 to defend it. But that's just not going to work long term. I mean, I could even sack another pawn. That's not even a sack, actually. So sorry, my apologies. a4 just doesn't work because he would just lose the bishop. It would have nowhere to go. So a4 doesn't work. So here, he has to go back, and all of a sudden we're even on pawns, but I have a much more active rook, and if he tries trading, then I just bring my other rook over, and then all of a sudden I'm going to be the one with a rook on the second, and he's not going to have a good rook. He's going to have a rook stuck on the first. So I would be in a much better position if he took. That's just an explanation. He did not, in fact, take. He went bishop to c2. I played a5. I'm thinking, okay, well, I just gained a tempo with my move, so now I'm going to be able to hopefully, force on further and hopefully get a promotion. And my opponent plays e4. And this move doesn't scare me whatsoever. Pretty much I have defense if he tries doing this. I have defense if he does this. I just take. So I don't really feel threatened by that move, especially since I'm taking first. So I'm not even losing a pawn out of a exchange anywhere. Then here I chose to go rook h4. I didn't want to take just yet. I wanted to provide more pressure on this piece. And he moves his rook over to e3 with the idea to, double stack against my king, protect the bishop a few more times. So I played the move rook to f4. I pretty much just want to kick the queen kind of out of this area. It goes over to e2. And unfortunately, I don't really have any sort of connecting tactics with all of these pieces. As much as I would like to have one, I don't. So this is kind of just where we are. I played b4. He gets his other rook in. And I decide that I'll take the bishop. But I don't want to take this as well. So I drop down to f5. And now my thought process is that, again, he won't ever be able to play this because I'm going to be able to take. Even if he tries going for a tactic like this, where I take and then he would grab my queen and I can't recapture, my rook is capable of doing so. So I'm pretty happy to have my rook here on f5. Again, if he just plays like g4 or something, I'm just going over. He's just kind of helping me do my job faster. Queen comes over to d2. And I play rook b5, and I'm already missing a tactic mentally. It doesn't work out for him yet, but I still haven't recognized that it's even approaching the board. We get rook to e5, and my only thought is that I don't want to take because this is, it's happy right here. So I double my rooks, and that is actually a big mistake. The reason for that is that he has queen to g5. And all of a sudden, he has two things that are against this rook, and it would not be an equal trade anymore. So what I have to do is I have to play f6, which threatens both of these. However, he has this move which comes with check. I take back, he takes, and I take. And all of a sudden, even though two rooks are a fine thing to have in exchange for your queen, it's just not the timing I would want it to be. So I skipped ahead a move. But pretty much he could grab this now. So what he would actually have is he would have two pawns and my queen for the two rooks, which I think is fine considering that my king is not in a safe location. So I think that the pass pawn, with my unsafe king and his queen, I think that should be enough to win. And let me turn off the eval, but the eval does exist, or does agree. Says there's like a 1.6 advantage for him, which isn't crushing just yet, but this does not feel pleasant to play. So he actually doesn't opt to take my pawn, which I wasn't sure why. Maybe he just didn't like that I would then be able to do something myself, so he wanted to keep up the pressure. But I just played king e7. I didn't really want to protect the pawn because I was fine with him taking it, and then myself having a move here where I both threaten that and defend g7, and now I'm eyeing down g2. And I figure that my move of choice is going to be, what's it called? B3 here anyway. So I was thinking that, if he takes, then I can play B3. And then if he takes this way, then my rook can take. And then, I'm almost grabbing this pawn on C3. And even if I'm not, that this guy's walking in. So I'm still semi-happy with this position. However, he chooses to play Queen E4 instead of going over to C2. Now, I don't know why I thought he would go to C2, where this is obviously the much better move. But I just moved my king to the side. So I do have to be somewhat careful, since even though these rooks are separated, this one's protected, but this one is not. So in B8 rook could still fall fairly easily. So I have to make sure I don't step on an accidental square like, D6 would have been a great example, where the rook just falls. And my opponent plays D5. And I realize now what his goal is. He's either trying to mate me somehow with these two, which I don't think is likely just because of my escape routes. But what's more likely is that he's trying to alienate my king and then take this pawn all the way. So I play rook e8. I can't protect this pawn. I can go here, but he's just still pushing. And in this case, I would actually lose my rook, tactically. So I give him the pawn. And I take once here because I didn't want to allow him to take first. Then I take back and he wins an extra pawn. So I'd rather keep this one on the board. He takes back. Check. King goes to h2, and then I move my rook over to d5. And the idea is that even if he gets this check for now, he doesn't have a way to pin my queen, or he doesn't have a way to pin my king and my rook together right now. So he goes queen to c7. I go king g8. I'm thinking my king is more so just in the way than it is helping, so I'm just trying to move. So I go down here, and we get a pawn move supporting this. So if he moved this first, then I think it's just a tie, because I'm just going to be picking that up, and then there's no threat. And he has enough pawns that are, hard to defend here that I should be able to pick up one or two more, and then we're kind of out of issues. But anyway, he plays c4. I play rook d2. He pushes, and I take. And at this point, I'm feeling very hopeless about the game. But I'm still seeing that I have some chances for some, random back rank mates or draws that could be possible. He, of course, just defends this. And now, I already realized that this game is lost. I could see how to win, no matter what my response is as black. So what I was trying to do is just see what the trickiest move I could play is. So, yes, if I take in here, here, and here, and here, this is mate, so he's forced to exchange. And then I still get here in time. But what he would actually do is he would just do this. And then I can't actually take this pawn or go for it, because this one promotes. So my king is just left stuck defending these two pawns. Meanwhile, these guys aren't making progress against each other. And I'll have two pawns against one right here, but his king will be able to help the pawn do it. So the only way these two pawns are able to, help each other out pretty much is in the same structure where the king can't move to take one, but this guy just disrupts that. He could just sack himself, and then when he sacks himself, the king takes one, and then the other one can't run away in time. So, I kind of realized this doesn't work. The other move that I'm looking at is rook takes. We get this, and then I go back here. That, unfortunately, also doesn't work, mainly just because we get check, and then after check, I just have to go here, and then it promotes. There's just not enough time. So, I realized neither of these work, so I just went here to defend. He naturally pushed, and now I'm just trying, a few more moves. This is already lost, but I'm hoping that now if he plays d8, that I'm going to just take. I'm hoping that if he tries to, I don't know, do something like this and then promote, that he forgets about this back rank mate that I had. I'm just trying some things, but it's classical, so this is never going to work. In Blitz, maybe one of the 10 traps that I've laid this game from a lost position, maybe one of them would catch, and then I'm all set, but in classical, that just doesn't work as well. Excuse me. So, he plays queen here. He could have done it from any square, because at this point it doesn't matter. But I guess he was just staying principled, making sure to protect g2. I go with king here, just saying, maybe he'll play this move randomly. And he just checks me here. Obviously, this is my only escape. He promotes, I'm losing the rook too, and I'm just getting mated in probably like 1 or 2 more moves. So that was the game. I ended up losing to the guy, which sucks. The ratings update at the end of the month for this tournament. So I've got 1 win and 1 loss, but my win was against like an 1100, I think, and my loss is against a 1200. So basically, I'm going to be losing a lot of rating from this tournament, at least, unless I am able to beat someone semi-strong in my next game, next Thursday. But it's a bit of a shame, but I've learned that I can't just keep my king in the middle of the board forever. It would benefit to bring it to f8. I'm not saying that not castling is my issue. I would say it's more so that I don't choose to ever move my king to safety. Because I could just do it manually by moving my king over to those squares, but I just never did it. The other thing is that I need to pay more attention to my opponent's tactics and not just my own. Because I missed his queen that went here. I missed that tactic. And then I missed this bishop coming in. I missed this tactic as well. And this one, fortunately, didn't actually cost me anything. Well, actually, it did, but he misplayed it. So this move was bad, and then this move was bad. But the second one actually ended up being my loss. And the computer does say that there were 2 ways that I could have came back. Like here where he pushed d5. I guess that taking was possible, and there's this weird move here. Rook b4. Where he's not really able to defend this and this simultaneously. So all of a sudden, it's actually pretty equal now. And I could probably save this position. Still losing, but more savable than the last one was. And I think they said there was one other move where I could have potentially came back. And yeah, that was just here when he chose not to take my pawn. I just chose to give it up anyway, where I could have very much just saved this little 3 chain and then played on. But a few mistakes. I played fine against the London itself, I think. I think the only bad move in my opening really was the bishop c6. So I'm going to try to correct some of these things for tomorrow. I'm not going to just learn like an opening for the London tomorrow. I'll just keep doing what I did today. I'll just, run with whatever I have mentally already for that day. But yeah, tomorrow I have a tournament, but it's not just a single game. It's actually the Charleston, what's it called? Like the snowstorm event or something. It's like something storm related. But I think it's the 49th annual tournament. And Charleston doesn't hold a lot of chess tournaments, which is why I have to travel 2 hours every Thursday just to play a rated game. But I'm excited. I'm in the over 1500 category. And I'm actually like the 17th or 18th highest rated out of 22, which means I'm pretty low in there. There's a couple people over 2000. There's one master, national master. And then, yeah, even if I were to go like 2 and 2 in this section, it would probably boost my rating by a ton. Because there's not a whole lot of people who are lower than me in rating. But I don't plan on going 2 and 2 either. I plan on hopefully getting top 3, and winning it would be very nice, but we'll see. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Sorry for missing it last week. I didn't get enough sleep to make the drive over to Columbia. But I'll do better next time, and catch you later.